Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoteric. I got a fun and exciting episode for you guys today because as of 2 days ago, at least is when I'm recording this audio, RPCS3 had an update and it was a pretty massive one at that. And because PlayStation 3 emulation keeps getting better and is now for some games, in my opinion, the best way to play the actual titles, I'm excited to be able to talk about this update because I know you guys love emulation, and if you are using RPCS3, leave me a comment down below and tell me emulation or real hardware for PlayStation 3 for you guys right now. But let's jump right into the first game I decided to test on this new update, 3D Game Hero. Not only is this one of my favorite JRPGs of all time as far as that kind of Legend of Zelda vibe going on, it is a game, last time I talked about it, maybe on a Steam Deck RPCS3 tutorial, that would just absolutely freeze and not let me into the game much whatsoever. Now there are still notes saying that this game can randomly freeze at times, but I got about 15-20 minutes in, further than I've ever actually gotten before in 3D Game Hero, and had absolutely no issues. Now the interesting thing is when the RPCS3 team does updates, they list a lot of different links to a lot of different commits on GitHub, but there's never any seemingly master page of this thing will fix the following game. So I kind of had to poke through things I've tested in the past, things I've had success with and fails with, and see how they were doing. It would be great in the future. This kind of actually gave you more of a blog post style with just game improvement titles, but I totally understand. They're probably so busy spending time making the actual code that it takes a little bit for that actual blog post with any sort of indicators to come out. But as far as improvements on RPCS3, since the last time I talked about it, I would say the stability is definitely there. A lot of games that would have graphical glitches or issues or not work with me whatsoever now work perfectly fine, and it really does feel like this is becoming a very mature emulator, even if it still is at the alpha stage. But if you take a look over here at the GitHub, and I will leave the link in the description below, you're going to see all the independent changes, and you'll see, at least as I'm making this video, it was 2 days ago, and you're probably going to be watching this Thursday at 4 p.m. And consequently, I will be at Game 3 of the Chicago Cubs Wildcard Series, and that should be a fun time. So when this video goes out, the game will just be starting, so send me a message and ask me how it's going. So this is what I mean when I talk about the RPCS3 updates are plentiful on this release. Some of these won't make any sense unless you go into the actual commit and read the code. I don't think many people really like to do that, but sometimes you'll see some things that will be a little bit indicative of what you might expect to see on improvements, like fixing Vulkan support here for Windows. Definitely going to be something that is useful. And if you do want to grab this latest build, if you just launched RPCS3, you should get that auto update feature asking if you want to upgrade, and if you haven't, you can download it here. And it does say that ARM core processing will be coming soon, so hopefully that we'll see in another update or so. But this is an area in 3D Game Hero last time I took a look at, I was never able to actually get to. And if you've never played 3D Game Hero, I know it's a controversial statement, but I think it's one of From Software's best games ever made, just because it's so damn creative. And now, at least on this new version, I'm getting a lot better stability, but that could have come from a previous version as well. I don't do videos on every single release, but it's going to be our first soundtrack sample to hear the audio quality, and I'll be right back. Looks amazing, sounds amazing, and at least for me, it is running at its full frame rate. But just so you know, I like to list this in videos. I am using an i9-12900K overclock. I've got 64 gigabytes of RAM and an NVIDIA 3080 Ti, which about 3 years ago would have been absolutely one of the fastest PCs you could build. Now it's still on the high end, but obviously not cutting edge, but you do need a decent CPU and GPU to get this done. Let's move over to Virtua Fighter 5. Last time I actually played this on RPCS3, it was one where I had a decent amount of visual glitching in some of the character models and the backgrounds, and I would say this is definitely cleaned up as well. Every once in a while, something takes like half a frame more before it pops in than I feel like it would on real hardware. And even if the PlayStation 3 version of this game is awesome, there are more recent releases of Virtua Fighter 5 out there that I would probably recommend over it, but we're not here to talk about what the best version of Virtua Fighter 5 is. We're here to talk about the improvements in RPCS3 and just how mature this emulator is actually getting. From the bloom in the background to the overall highlights of the lighting models to the shadows on both Sean and Sarah here looks absolutely stunning. Like I said, until you see Sarah's eyes, I don't remember them being like that. It kind of looks like she's got some demon possession thing going on, which is to say, as good as RPCS3 is, it's clearly not done, so you will see a little bit of weirdness here and there. But last time I played this game I had audio hitching and now I don't, so it's soundtrack sample 2 time, but I still got more games to show you.
Fight 2! Ready? Go! KO!
Know your limits next.
I mean, both looks good and sound good to me, but you leave me a comment down below and you tell me what you think. Now you will see at the bottom left hand corner it says compiling shaders, and that's because at least on this PC, I don't think I've actually run Virtua Fighter 5 on it yet. I probably did it on my gaming laptop, so you will see that, and the first time you play any game it is going to compile those shaders, and it's not done in the first 30 seconds or 60 seconds, it'll compile them as it sees them in use throughout the game. So if you do have a couple little hitches when you see that at the bottom left hand corner, just know the next time you play the game, those will be compiled for you. They'll be in the cache and you won't have to worry about any of that hitching, but it is one of those things. The first time you run the game, it's going to be a little bit hitchy if you don't have the right spec system. Well, now let's move over to a game that used to get me into it, I believe, but now seems to get stuck at a loading zone. Let's talk about regressions in general. If you don't want to update an emulator, you don't have to do it whatsoever. If all you're doing is playing your favorite games and you have no interest in playing anything else, and those games are not glitchy in any way, shape, or form, then you don't really have to update to the most recent version of that emulator if you don't want to, because when things are in active development, regressions can and will happen. A game that was working perfectly fine before might stop working completely, or a game that had no visual or audio glitches might actually develop them, because I know in a previous video, I think I talked about Little Big Planet and showed at least the introductory sequence with Stephen Fry doing the narration as you walk through kind of the intro when you gain control of the player. Now all of this actual intro here plays this video, but the minute I went into the actual loading screen, I have control of Sackboy. If I hit the jump button, he will jump, but I was never able to actually get past this loading. Maybe it's something I did wrong, leave me a comment down below, but it's something I did notice about this newest update. But let's move into something completely 2D. This is Dragon's Crown, and if you've never played it before, it is one of the best 2D hack and slash light RPG games ever made. Basically just a sequel to Princess Crown, and some of the art in this game, absolutely insane, and all the ways that you know whoever made it had a very big passion for very large characters, if you know what I mean. But this game is absolutely stunning. It is in full 2D, and it does show just how good RPCS3 is, not at just running 3D games, but 2D games. And it also has an incredible soundtrack, so soundtrack sample 3, and I'll be right back. It definitely sounds good to me. When you get into the game, everything looks absolutely stunning, and the artwork in this title, the frames of animation, how everything is done. If you've never played Dragon's Crown before, I can't stress enough just how incredible this game is visually and just how much fun it is. This massive orc comes in, and it's just one of those games that's absolutely stunning in motion if you like it. And I will say that Sorceress's top right there must be magic, because that thing would fall down definitely in real life. So this game's definitely a vibe. Maybe you'll love it, maybe you'll hate it, but as far as an emulation example is concerned, this is a game that's run pretty well in RPCS3 for some time now, but it's an example on the current version of the game that you can just sit down and play this one from start to finish, and honestly you'd have absolutely no idea you weren't just playing a PlayStation 3 outside of the fact that you're on your PC. And at least for me, I'm using an Xbox Series X controller, and I'll be talking about this weekend the new virtual on translation for the Japanese exclusive version of the game that was only ever released digitally, and that's why RPCS3 is great, including including all its updates. You don't just get to play some games with some fun enhancements, kind of making them even better than PlayStation 3 could do. You can also play games that never actually came out in the US and now have translation patches. But definitely download that update. The link is in the description below, or just use RPCS3's auto updater. You're going to get a lot of fun, and you tell me what's your favorite game to emulate on the emulator. But I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.